Hey there and welcome back to XCOM. My name is Pete and today we complete a very special birthday episode of our XCOM Enemy Within Ironman Impossible walkthrough. But I don't want to be the only one receiving gifts today, and very fittingly, in the last episode I announced that we would do another small giveaway. And from over 700 comments I just randomly selected a winner, and so without any further ado, congratulations go out to Ryan Miller. You have won a Steam copy of the XCOM Enemy Unknown Complete Pack. Now, to get that gift over to you, please get in contact with me. You can simply send me a private message on Facebook or Twitter, or send me an email to pete@petecomplete.com. So again, congratulations to you, Ryan, and to everyone else. This was certainly not your last chance to win something on this channel. Now, moving on to the episode at hand, today we will very likely complete our last mission in the month of May. In the last episode, we successfully completed another abduction mission, we also caught our very first alien, and we sent Sniper Rosilius Wargull on a covert operation against EXALT. In today's episode, we will have to bring him back home safely, but before we can do that, we will have at least one interruption, namely the completion of our very first Foundry project, Tactical Rigging. And there we are, project complete, and that means all of our soldiers have just received an additional item slot. I've said it before and I'll say it again, I think this is one of the most powerful Foundry upgrades in the game, because it gives us a ton of new options in combat. Now, for completing the project, we have also received a workshop discount of 40 credits, and with the covert operation coming up soon, let's spend those immediately. Now, the first item we'll purchase is the flashbang grenade. This is more or less the offensive version of the smoke grenade. It is not part of the base game but was also introduced in Enemy Within, and it gives all units in the blast radius substantial penalties to aim and movement speed for the next 2 turns. And we're not talking about a few percentage points, we're talking about a minus 50 aim penalty, as well as a 50% movement penalty. The other item we'll purchase is then one that we unlocked very early in the game, the nanofiber vest. Despite looking like it, this is not a suit of armor but an item, one that gives its wearer an additional 2 hit points. That's nothing too crazy, but we have item slots galore now, so we probably have someone who can use this. And of course, because this is a completionist playthrough, so I would like to purchase and use every item at least once. For the moment though, we have nothing else to do and also no more cash to purchase anything, so I would say we can already prepare for the conclusion to our covert operation. And there we are, our covert operative Rosilius is ready for extraction. That means we will now send in our full 6-person squad, fully equipped of course with all weapons and armor, while Rosilius himself will only have access to his laser pistol and no armor at all. We can also see here that the mission type will be a covert data recovery, and we'll talk a bit more about what that actually means in just a moment.
Excellent. We look forward to seeing your progress.
And at this point we can already see it, everyone in our squad has received an additional item. More specifically, everyone has received an additional grenade. For some we will keep it that way, but for others we will make some changes. Heavy Andrea Cook, for example, will definitely make the most out of keeping the grenade, because thanks to her grenadier ability she now has 4 of them. Assault Adam Work, meanwhile, will keep the arc thrower equipped, that might be useful for an achievement in this mission, while Emilia will carry the flashbang grenade. Using the second slot for even more medkits is sadly not possible, but she has 3 of them already, so we should be fine. Having an additional grenade on Shoji can't hurt either, while you can also see it here, Mech Trooper Nicholas Mahoney does of course not benefit from this upgrade. Lastly then we have Sniper George Teasdale, who currently only has 9 hit points even with carapace armor, and since he will most likely be too far away from the action to use a grenade, he instead receives the nanofiber vest for some additional protection. And that's it, I would say we are now well prepared for what comes next, so let's send our 6-person squad off to India to bring Rosilius back home.
Our operative was in position to transmit the data they'd acquired when EXALT forces moved into their AO. The encoder is currently shielding our transmitter's position, but if EXALT manages to hack the encoder, they'll be able to locate the transmitter. If they hack both, any hope we had of recovering the data intact will be lost. Objectives updated.
Alright, so we have 2 devices here, the encoder on the left side and the transmitter on the right. The transmitter is the ultimate goal. If that thing gets hacked or destroyed, the mission is failed. However, the encoder on the left side currently shields it from protection, so EXALT will have to hack that encoder first. Our covert operative Rosilius, meanwhile, is stationed near the transmitter, but he will soon also have to move over to the encoder because that is where most of the combat will likely take place. And since EXALT troops will go for the encoder, we will have to do that as well. So let's get a move on here with Adam and move closer towards it.
We finally have a visual confirmation of EXALT's operatives in the field, and from the looks of them, EXALT is working quickly to integrate alien genetic material into their troops. Until we know the extent of their capabilities, I would advise extreme caution.
Commander, EXALT forces are in position to hack the encoder. If we don't secure that equipment, they'll be able to locate the transmitter.
Okay, on our very first move, we immediately revealed 2 groups of EXALT agents, and as you can see, they have gone right for the encoder and are currently in the process of hacking it. The number in the top right corner shows that it will take them 3 turns to do that. However, we can prevent the hack by either getting one of our soldiers in that red rectangle, or simply by eliminating all of the hostiles. Now, EXALT agents come with regular weapons, and because we have already upgraded to laser weapons for the most part, we outclass them in that regard. But just like our soldiers, they also have access to many of the same abilities, for example smoke grenades or rockets. Now fortunately we do not actually have a heavy in this group here, but still 6 of them, that is a sizable force. However, we don't really have much of a choice but to rush the rest of our squad forward, because we definitely do not want to leave Adam alone out there, and we also have to interrupt the hacking attempt as soon as possible. We're going for a formation here that has Mech Trooper Mahoney in the middle as the prime target, offering defense bonuses to all of the soldiers in cover around him, and we will strengthen that position even further with a smoke grenade from Emilia. That should now make us incredibly hard to hit, but we also still have Rosilius left all by himself on the other side here. And he will dash over into the corner here where EXALT can't see him. Unsurprisingly, without armor, keeping him out of harm's way is one of the top priorities in this mission. Now, the EXALT agents are in an interesting position here. Normally, their number 1 priority is to get to the encoder and they will disregard more or less anything else in their path. Now, however, they have already begun hacking, but they are also aware that they are unlikely to land any shots against us. At the same time, they will also not move too far away from the encoder, for example to move into a flanking position, so most of them go with the easy option here, get into some better cover and go on overwatch. We have a single shot here against Nicholas, but that fails to connect, and then EXALT goes for the same approach that we picked earlier. With everyone in cover, they strengthen their position with a smoke grenade. So here we are, we have lost 1 turn on the encoder, but that still leaves us with 2 turns, and I think that's enough time to take the attackers out. And with all of them clustered so closely together, we can actually go for another achievement. First of all though, we have to keep their numerous overwatches in mind, so the best way to approach I think is with a bang from a distance, specifically with a rocket from Andrea, which will catch 5 of the 6 agents in its blast radius.
Eat this.
Right, so we now have 5 injured agents, with most of the cover also removed, and at this point we can switch over to Rosilius. Now, even though Rosilius was away from the base, the tactical rigging upgrade still applied to him. That means he starts this mission off with an extra item slot as well, and the game autofills that with a grenade. And that grenade is exactly what we're going to use here to get Rosilius 3 kills at the same time and unlock the Remington Max Remington achievement. Alright, lovely. That conveniently enough also removes 3 of the 4 overwatches, and it unlocks the first of what could very well be 3 achievements we get on this mission. Now, of course, we have 3 more enemies to take care of, and we also have Sniper George Teasdale in the squad who could use himself a few kills. So let's aim at the injured agent in the back here who still has 3 hit points and see if George can't reduce our opposition 1 step further. Okay, there we are, very nice, that was also the last overwatcher, so we can now move freely, for example with Mech Trooper Nicholas Mahoney, who also needs a few more kills. And we have an 86% chance to hit here, but let's make absolutely sure we do get the kill with him. Again, both him and George are the only soldiers on the battlefield who can still receive promotions, so we want to get them as many kills as possible, and with Nicholas here we'll do that using the collateral damage ability. In hindsight, I now realize that collateral damage could have also only done 1 point of damage, so statistically speaking, that 86% shot would have actually been the better option. In any case, we now only have one enemy left to take care of, and the man for that job is Assault Adam Work, who can use run and gun for the kill. And there we are, the hacking was already interrupted when Adam got close to the encoder. Now though, we have no more EXALT agents left in the vicinity, so it's time to move the rest of our squad up a bit and prepare for more reinforcements.
I'm rolling.
Commander, we've got multiple hostiles inbound on Strike 1's position. Enemy reinforcements are closing in.
Right, so at this point the mission will turn fairly repetitive. As you can see, we have more EXALT forces moving in, but as I mentioned earlier, their #1 priority is the encoder and to get into the hacking zone. That means for the most part we will not really have to worry about them attacking our troops, instead we can simply wait for them with a good round of overwatches. Still, if we can take matters into our own hands, we will do that whenever we can, for example with Sniper George Teasdale here, who can get himself into a flanking position behind the car here and then launch a headshot at the EXALT agent further down the road. Alright, very nice. Critical hit and a promotion for George. Now, we did see one more enemy at the other side of the building here, but again, they will most likely find us, so we don't have to go looking for them. Instead, we can get comfortable around the encoder. Mech Trooper Mahoney will also use his jet boot module for the first time, which will get him onto the roof here, right in the corner where he can keep an eye out. Assault Adam Work will stay right where he is, while Rosilius will move on to the other side of the door, while Emilia joins them as well and goes into the corner here. That only leaves our Heavy Andrea, who can also move up a bit and go on Overwatch, and that already ends our turn.
Quiet. Did you hear something?
And as expected, we have EXALT forces dashing in, however, right into 5 reaction shots, and with only 8 hit points, that is certainly not a comfortable spot to be in. Now, we don't see any additional enemies at the moment, but the mission isn't over yet, so more will come. So let's move George here into a slightly better position and then once again put our entire squad on Overwatch.
Rock and roll.
Commander, we've got additional EXALT forces moving on the AO.
And here we are now, more EXALT agents have arrived, but again, we have been waiting for them, and because Shoji's first reaction shot here is a hit, he can actually shoot a second time, because back at the lieutenant rank we picked the rapid reaction ability for him. The kill, however, goes to Nicholas, who admittedly needs it a bit more, while on the other side of the building we also have more enemies approaching. However, that far away they are not a threat to us at the moment, so let's lie in wait, activate another round of Overwatches and see if they come closer. However, nothing happens, so it seems like even with a full dash they're not quite able to reach us yet. Our strategy meanwhile remains unchanged, we simply go with a full round of Overwatches one more time. And once again we have an EXALT agent rushing in with no concerns for his own safety. This time all 6 of our soldiers fire reaction shots, and unsurprisingly that is enough to get the kill. However, a second EXALT agent now joins the party, and here we can see a prime example of EXALT's priorities. Instead of taking one of multiple flanking shots, the enemy instead uses his entire turn to get to the encoder.
Looks like this is the last of the hostile reinforcements, Commander. We just need to hold out a little longer.
Additionally, we also have more reinforcements coming in from all sides, but their numbers are thinned out at least somewhat after a successful reaction shot from Nicholas. We were also informed that this is apparently the last wave of enemies, so if that's the case we have only 5 enemies left. One of which is currently playing the sitting duck right in front of us, and this could allow us to obtain another achievement here, more specifically one for stunning an EXALT agent with the arc thrower. To maximize our chances for a successful stun, we will now try to wear this agent down to only 1 hit point, and that can be reliably achieved with 2 grenades. The first one comes from Andrea and does 4 points of damage thanks to her Grenadier ability, while the second one belongs to Shoji and does the usual 3 points of damage.
Frag out.
This now gives us a 90% chance for the stun, and with that for the related achievement. Let's see if Adam can pull it off.
Okay. Say goodnight. Oh, crap.
Alright, I guess that's XCOM for you. Despite a 90% chance, we still fail the stun attempt, and because it is actually very likely that the agent will shoot at us on the next turn, we will now unfortunately have to do that first and get ourselves the guaranteed kill with Rosilius here.
He's down.
Alright, the encoder zone is once again free and we can take care of at least one more enemy here. First of all though, we have to move Sniper George out of harm's way. Afterwards, we can then rain some fire down from the roof with Nicholas. This will not kill the agent but cause him to panic, so on the next turn he won't be able to do much. And we will actually allow him to have a next turn, despite a 64% hit chance with George here. I think going on Overwatch is the better choice here. And that applies to everyone else as well, so let's activate Overwatches wherever we can, which brings our turn to an end. As expected, the panicked EXALT agent stays put and doesn't do anything. One of his companions, meanwhile, comes running through the door here, which of course once again puts him in the line of fire. First, Emilia lands the reaction shot and then George follows up with a hit as well, and so another agent goes down and we're left with only 3. And while we actually have plenty of options to do something about the one with only 2 hit points here, we will instead opt for another round of Overwatches, because what we're facing here is a support class agent, meaning that on the next turn he will either heal himself or come running into our Overwatches. So with 2 other agents also still running around, we remain as flexible as possible by going for the Overwatch here, and let's see who triggers a reaction shot first. Alright, as expected, the agent down by the car here heals himself, and that also means he won't bother us on this turn. Meanwhile, over on the other side, a second EXALT agent comes into view, and he immediately triggers reaction fire from Sniper Teasdale. Shortly after then, our heavy Shoji Zhang also has him in his sights, and that is enough to eliminate this agent as well.
Eliminated.
So we're now down to only 2, and I think we can afford to be a bit more aggressive on this turn. And so we start things off with Shoji again, who will take a 74% shot at the agent by the car.
My gun is empty.
Despite the good hit chance, the shot misses, but holo-targeting activates. So Sniper George now has an 84% chance to hit. Let's go for the headshot and see if he can make it count. And indeed he can, and that means we are down to only 1 single enemy, so let's activate what will hopefully be our final round of Overwatches here. And indeed the agent comes into view almost immediately. The first shot belongs to Adam, but his shotgun misses over this distance. But again, our enemy goes for the full dash, and that means we have a few more chances.
The transmitter is secure, and it looks like that was the last of EXALT's forces in the area. Excellent work.
And there we are, all EXALT agents are dead, we have completed the mission, and we have also unlocked the Elite Defense achievement. Admittedly, this is a fairly easy achievement to get, because as you saw, the risk of EXALT actually hacking the encoder is fairly slim, at least on these early missions.
Another successful mission. Excellent work, Commander.
Back in the base, we have a well-deserved promotion to take care of with Sniper George Teasdale, and for his ability at captain level we can choose between Executioner and Opportunist. Now, we already talked about this at length with Rosilius, so I won't go into too much detail here. All things considered, I do think that Opportunist is the better choice of the 2 abilities. However, for George we will still go with Executioner, because this skill is actually very useful in combination with Disabling Shot, as that could allow us to strategically soften up enemies for the Arc Thrower. The completionist aspect of course also plays a role here. I want to show off as much of the game as possible, and that of course also includes all of the various abilities. So here we are, our covert operation was definitely a success. As you might remember, we originally lost 100 credits due to the EXALT attack, but we got 150 back as well as a panic reduction in India. Now, completing these EXALT missions will also always grant us hints about the location of the EXALT main base. To eliminate EXALT once and for all, that is of course our main target, and we learn here that the EXALT base is not in Africa. That still leaves 4 other continents, but it's a good first step. Now, regarding the loot from this mission, we of course obtain that valuable piece of information, as well as a wide array of EXALT weaponry. Despite their different looks, all of these weapons are identical to the default XCOM weapons, and that also means that we have absolutely no use for them. Still, they will fetch us a few pennies on the grey market, so they're not entirely worthless.
The intel we recovered was enough to take down the rest of EXALT's cell. Unfortunately, it looks like this was just a small part of their wider-reaching clandestine operation. We did manage to find some clues as to the location of EXALT's headquarters, though. If we can track down more of their cells and collect additional intel, we'll be able to narrow down the possibilities and take out EXALT once and for all.
Alright, here we are back in the base, and before we continue scanning, we will actually spend some of our hard-earned credits, because if we head over to engineering here, we can see that our power consumption is more or less at the limit, and with the next month just around the corner, we definitely want to build additional facilities, so let's get another power generator up and running. Afterwards, we can then head over to the situation room and immediately start our next EXALT scan. Yes, this seems a bit hasty, but there is a very good reason for it. Because only the first intel scan each month can be had for 50 credits, all subsequent scans in that same month will cost us more. And with the current month almost over, we definitely want to make use of the fact that we are still in May, otherwise we might have to pay extra for the second scan in June.
Intel scan complete. Positive ID on EXALT cell locations.
The engineering team is doing some tests right now that could be disruptive. I'm going to alert the staff as a precaution.
And here we are, we uncover the next EXALT cell, this time in the United Kingdom, and we will also have to launch the next covert operation at this point, because if we leave this cell be for a few days, it will go back into hiding and the scan was a waste. And for our covert operative, we will once again go with Mr. Wargull here, for 2 reasons actually. First of all, with a 7-day timer on the mission and still 4 days left until the end of the month, chances are somewhat high that we will not actually run into another mission before our next EXALT mission. That means chances are high that Rosilius won't be desperately needed in the meantime, and sending in Sniper Teasdale instead will also allow him to collect a few more valuable kills and potentially level up again. So there we are taking on EXALT in full force here, and at this point we can finally continue scanning, which will hopefully bring us to the completion of our next research project. And indeed, here we have successfully researched the alien nav computer. And this was actually a project that was more or less a requirement for me to finish before the next month, because completing it gives us access to a brand new facility, the Satellite Nexus. The Satellite Nexus is basically an improved version of the satellite uplink, as its satellite capacity is doubled. So for a slightly increased price, but by building only 1 more facility, we can get a higher number of satellites in orbit next month, which should then allow us to get satellite coverage above every single country. Now, we also unlocked the Stealth Satellites Foundry project here. However, in my opinion, this is one of the less useful upgrades, as it only comes into play when we're actually unable to shoot down a UFO. Now, the big question at this point is of course what to research next. Again, we have several autopsies to complete here, but those will have to wait a few days, as well as the sectoid interrogation, which is marked as a priority project here. Instead, we will now use the next 10 days to work on a brand new suit of armor, which does not necessarily dramatically improve our squad's survivability, but definitely vastly increase their mobility, as it comes with a fairly substantial movement speed increase as well as with a grappling hook. So that is what our scientists will be working on for the next 10 days, and that is also the point where we make the cut in today's episode. We are just about to see the completion of the genetics lab, and we may or may not send a soldier over there to get their first gene modification in the next episode, but I also want to take some time and explain that a bit more thoroughly, just like we did with the mech troopers, and for today's video I think we have reached a good length, so let's wrap things up right here. Again, for the winner of the giveaway, Ryan, please get in touch with me. And to everyone else watching, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you want to make me a wonderful birthday present and support my channel further, then you can of course also subscribe if you haven't done so already. Alternatively, if you're feeling generous, then you can of course also support the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.